She's what happens when a world-class intellect meets stand-up comedy, and we love comedy, so we're really glad to have her on today.
I'm a 68-year-old broad who moved from Brooklyn, New York, who was the first girl in my family to finish high school in a timely fashion.
Love that somehow you make people laugh while also realizing that maybe we need to rethink some parts of our entire relationship vocabulary.
And I married Michael Meyer, who is not the serial killer. I would know where the bodies were buried.
All I know is I'm in pain, I hurt.
That if you don't find love inside your marriage, you're going to find it outside your marriage. It has to be about sharing what's important in that relationship, in that marriage.
Welcome to Marriage IQ, the podcast helping you become an intelligent spouse.
I'm Heidi Hastings.
And I'm Scott Hastings.
We are two doctors, two researchers, two spouses, two lovers, and two incredibly different human beings coming together for one purpose: to change the stinky parts of your marriage into scintillating ones using intelligence mixed with a little fun. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marriage IQ.
We are so glad to have you back today.
Today on Marriage IQ, we're thrilled and a little bit nervous to welcome Dr. Gina Barreca. She's what happens when a world-class intellect meets stand-up comedy, and we love comedy, so we're really glad to have her on today. Before we dive into our interview with Gina Barreca, we just want to remind everybody to go to marriageiq.com and go under the tab that says Weekly Tips. There you'll see our blog with every single week a 1-minute read email that goes out or that we post on our blog, helping you have a more scintillating marriage. And it always includes a really cool tip for you to try out with your spouse for that week. If you fill out the information in the little pop-up box with your email subscribing to the weekly marriage tips email, you're also entering our giveaway competition that we're holding between now and the 18th of November, where you can win date night on us.
That's
on
right.
Marriage IQ. So tell everybody you know. Go sign up for the weekly tips, and
Get your spouse to sign up too.
Yeah.
That doubles your chances.
We'll be giving away 5 date night packages. So, all right. Gina's a professor at the University of Connecticut, a best-selling author, and one of the funniest truth tellers on women, humor, and culture that you've ever met. And we got to throw in there on relationships. She has a book called Perfect Husbands and Other Fairy Tales, which I'm excited to hear a little bit about. But also, she just barely released a new book, Gina's School. And we are really excited to have her tell us about that as well.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just honored and delighted. And again, I read about your work. I think it's important. I think it's interesting. And I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah.
We're impressed to see that you've been everywhere with your speaking, with your books, from the New York Times to Oprah, and love that somehow you make people laugh while also realizing that maybe we need to rethink some parts of our entire relationship vocabulary.
I think that's absolutely true. I think that some of the work that the two of you encourage people to do, which is to go back and examine the repetitions, patterns emotionally forged in people's childhoods, and then see how they repeat in adult life and what parts of those we need to unpack and leave behind and what we need to take with us as we go forward is important and can't be discussed in too many ways. I mean, we need to keep going back to those crucial fundamentals of intimacy and trust and enjoyment and all of the parts that the two of you work so hard.
Thank you so much, Gina. I appreciate that.
So Gina, I read this article that you put out on Psychology Today a few months ago. In fact, we featured you in one of our previous podcast episodes about expressing yourself precisely, and I really loved this article. But when I heard you speak, though, I know you said you taught it in Connecticut, but your accent was very much different than what I was. So I told Heidi, I said, there's no way she's from Connecticut. She's from somewhere in like New York. And sure enough, you're from Brooklyn, right?
You got it. And in 38 years of teaching at the University of Connecticut, no one has ever come up to me and said, Dr. Barreca, what part of Connecticut are you from?
Yeah. No,
Right?
I knew from the first moment I heard you, I said, no, no.
Yeah, no, it's Brooklyn, New York. And actually, my next door neighbor growing up in Shutesbury Bay on Ocean Avenue is somebody who I sound exactly like. And if the two of us get together, which happens now and then, is Judge Judy. She was the dentist's daughter. She was like the smart girl on the block. I think she's the smart woman on everybody's block now. And if the two of us get together with our husbands, first of all, they're telling us just keep your voices down. It's just, you want me to keep my voice down, Jerry? Is that what you want? I don't think that drives us where we are. And so we're always like, I liked your cousin Joey. Like it was Joey. It wasn't Tommy. It was Joey. So we sound exactly like we're from. And part of that authenticity is, I think, allows all of us to speak the truth more easily when you're not trying to disguise where you came from, who you are, when you're not faking it, when you're just, being the most real version of yourself that you could be. When I first came to Connecticut, I tried for a little while to say my aunts and my uncles, and I couldn't do it. It just didn't work. So I'm back to my aunts and my uncles. That's fine.
That's how I grew up too. It wasn't aunts, it was aunts, and I'm from the West.
That's why we love Dallas. It's a fusion of East and West and different ways of thinking, different perspectives. And could you just spend maybe a few minutes talking a little bit about just how you came to be? Gina Barreca, who are you?
I can do that fairly quickly. I'm a 68-year-old broad who moved from Brooklyn, New York, who was the first girl in my family to finish high school in a timely fashion. And neither of my parents finished high school. They left school in the 8th grade. They came from big families. My mother was French Canadian. She died when I was very young. In fact, I just wrote a piece about that for Kate Corrick Media last week about how it was really my mother's depression that taught me how to be funny. Because my job as a kid, my vocation, my mission, my occupation was to make my mother laugh. She now would have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2 and agoraphobia and various other forms of mental disorder. But she wanted to feel more part of life and community than she was allowed to feel. And as a woman who raised her children not in her mother tongue, she was a Quebecoise, which was raising us in English, as people did in those days. You raised your children not in your language, but in the country's language. So I speak neither Italian nor French, except things that you can't say in front of the children. So I could really swear up and down the streets of Paris and Rome, which is proved effective when I was a younger woman. And so I was one of the first women at Dartmouth College, which was the last Ivy League school to go co-ed. And Dartmouth didn't know what they were getting when they took me in. I didn't know what I was getting into. Talk about aunts. When I went to Dartmouth and when I would say to people, you want to go for coffee? And they would say, oh, say that again. And I'd be like, am I supposed to ask you for tea or a beer? I don't know what I'm saying, because I didn't know I had an accent. And then after Dartmouth, I went a fellowship to Cambridge University and went there and then got my PhD at the City University of New York. And then University of Connecticut was, I thought, my first job. And it was my first job, but it's been the job that I've had all these years. And I married Michael Meyer, who is not the serial killer. I would know where the bodies were buried. And Michael is a colleague at UConn, but he retired a few years ago. He's a little bit older than I am. And Michael is also a writer, done textbooks, and we have a terrific life up here in the woods, although I never expected to live in the woods. And I've written 10 books and edited 17, and a bunch of them are academic and a bunch of them are trade. And I write for Psychology Today, and, most places that ask me, I'm a cheap date. I will write for many places, and so I've been in Forbes and the Harvard Business Review, as well as Cosmopolitan and the Chronicle of Higher Education. And so I'm enjoying myself, which I consider to be the best use of one's time. And I love language. Humor is an important part of my life, part of that because it was my assignment in my household as a child. But I don't do stand-up comedy. I know and respect a lot of people who do. My first book was called, they used to call me Snow White, but I Drifted, Women's Strategic Use of Humor, and that was a bestseller. And that came out a long time ago. It was 1991. And I have a 2-book minimum, not a 2-drink minimum. So talk to sober audiences that are capable of reading. And I give a lot of talks to a lot of groups around the country and internationally. Sometimes after they have a lawsuit, and there'll be a big banner saying Dr. Gina Barreca sexual harassment workshop. And some guys think I'm there to help them do it better. But, even by the end of it, everybody has a good time. And so the nice thing is that I'm often invited back. So that's long, short explanation of who I am.
Well, thank you.
That's a fascinating life.
That's a very different life than I live.
Yeah, and I am really impressed that you took something that would be really, really difficult to live in a family with severe mental illness. I've seen the research on that and how it impacts the trajectory of children. And you took that and were so resilient with that to find humor as a way of coping and helping your mother cope. That is so impressive.
I agree. And it sounds like you took this, what could have been a trauma, and really made it into a strength, moving forward.
I think that for most kids, you figure out it's a survival skill. We all figure out how to survive in whatever families we're in. And certainly it wasn't a kind of a victimization. It was the ability to turn whatever happened into a story. But it is, as both of you know, that it's the truth that once a child starts to understand the world through the lens of a parent, to think, how will my parent respond to this experience rather than how will I respond to an experience? The child is no longer a child. It's the end of childhood. And so that's why kids who grow up in houses of trauma learn ways to compensate that then they may need to dismantle in their own adult relationships, just so they're not replaying the same stuff that they did as a kid.
Yeah.
Interesting perspective.
Very, very true. We've seen a lot of that.
I want to ask, so you're married. You've been married since 1991, right?
Right.
To Michael Meyer. So why marriage?
That is what Perfect Husbands and Other Fairy Tales starts out with, is why should a woman with a room of her own, a life of her own, a job of her own, a career of her own? Because marriage is stepping into the public arena as a declared couple. Vows are a speech act. We go back to the precision of language idea. It's not a wedding. It's the vows you make. And I think it's the vows that you make in public where you declare, this is my spouse, who I am is part of this union. And I think it's an important declaration. It's a responsibility. It's taking, in a way, one of your most private relationships, but making it public and saying, and facing in a 360-degree angle and saying, everybody knows this. It's the opposite of a secret. It's a declaration. And I think marriage is important. It is important to both of us. And I think at the best and the worst times of a relationship to declare that. I think it's crucial to be able to say, when you call someone and you want to get put through, I'm his wife, I'm his spouse, I'm his life partner, whatever words are that people use for that kind of authority. You don't want to explain for 15 minutes, either to somebody at a hotel room, why you need to, to reach that individual, even if there's a conference going on, or when you're in the emergency room and life stars approaching. You don't want to just say we've been going out for 19 years. Say.
I mean, I was listening to you on different things, TEDx and other things. You are pretty publicly feminist, right? A
Yep.
feminist. And so, as a guy who's trying to be open-minded, right, about feminism and all that entails there, help me out, because I might be totally in the dark here. But my understanding was that feminism is that women don't need a man. And so what you're telling me that maybe they do, or just help me understand here.
Okay, sweetheart, you're a feminist. All right. Talking to women like we're adults. You believe, I presume, that women are human beings? You believe that, right?
Yeah, recently.
Easter.
Yeah, you believe that women are human beings. You believe that women should have the vote?
Yes. Yep.
You believe that women should have the vote. You believe that women should get paid what men get paid?
Sure.
Yeah. you're a feminist. There you go. No, feminism is the radical belief that women are human beings. That's what feminism is. You don't need a special haircut. You don't need, you don't need the special sound effects. You just think women are allowed to walk upright, sit at the table. They don't only have to make cooing noises. We don't know what to do. They kiss. You don't think that women are idiots. You don't think that women have no soul of their own. You don't think that women should have to always, again, go back to triangulation, that they don't have to triangulate their way to positions of power, to God, through work, to the children, to everything, through somebody else, because they are unable to do it themselves. And you're a feminist. It's not a tough club to get into.
Okay.
He's absolutely a feminine.
I'm so glad I made the cut. That actually really supports our mission here, that we are both strong. We're both flexible individuals. And really, one of the things why I wanted to do this podcast is because probably the vast majority of marriage podcasts out there are religious based, Christian based, which is fine, is great. But
We are Christian.
we don't really
You wanna
use that on this program. But I like to see that this is kind of a universal trait, that the glue that women come into this life with to be together, whether you're Christian or non-Christian or atheist or Hindu, whatever, or feminist or not, conservative, liberal, that there's this common glue that brings us together, that despite all of these differences that we may have in beliefs, fundamental differences in how we act and react, that at the end of the day, we find meaning in making symbolism part of our life, a symbolic gesture between man and woman.
And what I was hearing her say is that it's taking it to the next step of making it part of our identity. This is a step, a ritual, a declaration. I love that. That's the word you used, I think. A declaration that
To the world.
this is part of my identity now.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. And I think that, and again, we may disagree on this. I think that intimate relationships, even if they are same sex, if they're whatever, that it is that drive to form a union between two people who deeply love each other. For me, it's always been men and boys and whatever. I had a bad first marriage that didn't work. And one of the things that I also learned is that there are marriages that can't be fixed. And so I would say that too. And that, as others have said before me, but a line that I found very meaningful when I first heard it and continue to make sure that other people hear in case their time to hear it is urgent, is that if you don't find love inside your marriage, you're going to find it outside your marriage. So that's why making sure that your primary relationship is where you take the best of yourself. It's like when you talk about the differences, let's say, between senses of humor, or the differences between whatever appetites. And that doesn't mean that it has to be, I don't think any marriage can be the only relationship. Everybody has to have other people. And that's in a way why the marriage has to be part of a public life, why it has to be a community. Sort of support and effort and the rest of it is because you have to have other people in your life. I'm not always and again, this may be provocative. I'd love to hear what you two think about it. I'm not always sure you should marry your best friend. I mean, you can go out to dinner with your best friend. You can play tennis with your best friend. You could go shopping with your best friend. But marry somebody you want to go home to at night. You better marry somebody who smells the way you want them to smell, who actually does laugh at the same thing. And sometimes laughing together isn't actually laughter. It's the look you can give each other across a public dinner.
Wow.
Raise an eyebrow. But that electric connection.
Yep. Your little secret message.
Right. Between two individuals. And if you're doing that eyebrow raising with more people than you're doing it with to your spouse, something wrong with that. That's the best of yourself. And that's what you need to bring home. That's what you need to bring to the relationship. It's not just interests. Interests take care of themselves. I want to go look at towels. like for 45 minutes. I'm going to go with my girlfriend. Because if I bring Michael to say, I'm going to go look at towels for 45 minutes, he will, there might be some self-harm. Why should I do that? That's not an intimacy building exercise.
That's right.
To torture him by going, do you think that the depth of this weave is going? No, that's not something. If I say to my friend Heidi, it's like, do you think, or is this the color going to bleed the dark blue of this Brooks Brothers outlet, only $12? She will have a long and invested conversation. That is not what Michael's going to do, right? So it doesn't have to be about sharing everything. It has to be about sharing what's important in that relationship, in that marriage.
I
Love that.
That was amazing. That was great.
So, getting back to how all this relates to identity, how we do form a different identity when we marry. And part of that identity is learning how to really communicate precisely how we feel, expressing ourselves in a precise way. And that's what I loved about this article, because as a physician, I'll tell you a little experience and then have you to work off that. But I've been a physician for over 20 years. There's some things I've been picking up as I see and talk to patients every day when they come in to see me. For them, it's an experience where, okay, I'm going to see the doctor. I got to take time off. There's something important going on. I have this issue that's come up that I need to find out what's going on. They come in to see me, who, from my perspective, I see a slate of patients that day. You may be number 10 or 12 or 15. So I have to learn how to communicate with each of those patients in a very efficient and effective way in order to draw out the problem so that it can be solved in a timely manner, because I can't sit with each patient all afternoon and try to figure out what's going on. So I start asking very, very pointed questions. What happened, first of all? What's going on? When did it start? Let's say it's pain in your back. Started yesterday. And I start drilling. What kind of pain? Is it sharp? Is it stabbing? Is it throbbing? Is it pulsating? Is it burning? Deep ache, things that people don't think about before they come in to see me. They just know it hurts. Well, I don't know. I sit there. I ask them, well, I guess it is kind of sharp, but only when I'm leaning over, and only sometimes, but all the time it's deep and achy. Okay. Now we can start getting somewhere. Is it mild, moderate, severe? As I drill down on these things, they're able to, and I'm seeing this in real time. They came in not really knowing. All I know is I'm in pain, I hurt. And as they start becoming more specific, more precise with their language, with their expression of how they're feeling and what kind of pain this is, when it started, is it alleviated by anything or not, they're able to know more about their pain. And it's almost like a magical thing happens. If I give them medicine or not, a treatment plan or not, the vast majority of the time, they get better.
Mhm.
And this is a phenomenon that if people can learn how to know precisely how they feel in a relationship, there's a lot more healing, I think, that can happen. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. But I also think that we are not taught, especially in the intimate areas of our lives. It's like the intimate areas of our emotional lives are as forbidden as the part, like naming the real parts of the body were when I was growing up. I mean, you couldn't say where something hurt. It's down there. It's like people say, I have women's problems. It's like, what? You can't get credit? You can't parallel park? What do you mean I have women's problems? I mean, people couldn't talk about things. And I think that we are in the examples that you raised as a physician, they come in fear, right? So they are already coming in nervous. When people are nervous, we feel as if we are in the middle of chaos. We have a sense of loss of control. And of course, being able to give names to things and to situate ourselves within a landscape that a doctor or a therapist or a teacher is presenting. It's like, here's a map. Where are you on this map? So do you, does it hurt up north or if you surgery on Tuesday? And I have a terrific surgeon. I'm doing a trifecta. So they're cutting. It's like I didn't pay the VIG on a loan to a mafia boss. They're like breaking parts of my hand. They're doing carpal tunnel. They're taking nerve out of my arm. I was always told I have a lot of nerve. They're wrapping something on my elbow. So it's like the whole thing. So this lovely guy who's the surgeon, and I said, I don't like fasting. I like to eat. I don't want to fast for a long time. Can I get an early one? He said, yes, unless somebody with diabetes or there's an emergency, you can have the first appointment. And he said, because you're a bunch of stuff, but all of them are easy. And I was like, okay, oh, good. So you'll do me after the first cup of coffee and you'll do the complicated people later. It is the idea. It's even like with a student. You are the only one of you that they have. You have many of them. It's hard to make, and yet it's essential for anybody in a professional situation, in a professional role, to make everybody feel as if they're sui generis, right? They are the only one.
Right.
That kind of attention and that kind of precision, it is what helps make people feel more in control. And that's why they feel better. And that's what we do in relationships. When somebody says, I'm so upset, okay? Again, that could mean you didn't show up. I read some of the transcripts of your previous, I mean, it's fascinating. Good for transcripts of previous. Somebody is angry because her husband doesn't pick up the kid. It's like, pick up the kid. That's like a big deal. He doesn't pick up the kid. Yeah, you really don't want the kid going feral in the kiddie daycare parking lot. That is not appropriate. It's an important idea, but people, I'm upset could mean I'm feeling lonely. I'm jealous of you. You seem to be being successful right now. I feel old. I feel like you're younger than I am, even though you're not. I feel this. It might not be about the relationship. It's about how they feel. So again, in a relationship, sometimes we need to help our partner get to that kind of precision. Okay, you hurt, but where is it that you hurt? Can you tell me? What hurts right now? Where? What makes it worse? Is there something I can do?
Yeah, a lot of times too, just getting to that point. I'm telling you, that's 50% of the problem. That's a solution. It's not the 100% of the solution, but it's a bigger chunk than what we consciously give it credit for. If we just are able to draw out those specific underlying things, and as you said, there may be some overlying fear, jealousy that unconsciously I don't want my spouse to know about. I don't want her to know that I'm jealous because she has so many more friends than I do, or whatever it is, right? Or that she's more talented at her job than I am. Like it just there's all these underlying things, and I think that as we are able to speak specifically, express ourselves, you use this example in this article about this German word Schadenfreude, I think.
Right, Schadenfreude.
That is a very specific term.
Yeah, can you tell us more about that?
There's a story around it too, right?
Right, you read the article more recently than I've written, but it's that feeling of being glad that somebody messed up. It's that feeling of like somebody gets their comeuppance. It's a feeling that, again, sometimes other languages, can capture something, but because you're not supposed to feel this way. This is a forbidden emotion. We're not supposed to take joy at the idea that somebody else, like somebody we don't like, or even somebody we do like, but that they screwed up, that they, something didn't go their way when everything else always seems to go their way, that there's a delight in that. And it's a very basic human emotion.
Yes.
But it's supposed to be, that's really deeply repressed. So can you remind me with the story?
I'll give you one. I'll give you one of my own.
Please.
I hope this is okay. I can edit it out if Scott doesn't like it. So we planned a trip to the Christmas markets for this coming winter in Europe. And Scott is the great travel planner. Always.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Always the great travel planner. And he decided to get us a hotel that was a little more special than normal, or a lot more special than normal to make it.
No, it was the The highest priced hotel in Strasbourg, France.
And what an amazing, amazing gift. I didn't know he was doing this, but I happen to get the texts when he makes hotel reservations from the website that he gets them on. And I said, "What's this? It's showing next week. We are going to this hotel in France." And he said, "No, it's in December." And I said, "No, it shows right here. It's next week."
Why are you bringing this up?
And he was dying, just dying, because that was a
It's non-refundable.
huge non-refundable loss.
Thing is refundable.
I
But
got a deal on it because non-refundable, but I put in to today 3 months earlier.
and I was giddy. I was feeling Schadenfreude because I am the one 99% of the time who makes mistakes. And I feel like every time there's a problem, it's me that's done something bad. And I have never made a mistake to that cost. And so I was like, yes.
I understand that because my husband is also, he's very precise.
Oh yeah.
And is written down and everything. And again, he is also the travel planner in our lives. And we, in a similar way, we were flying first class. So this was like a
Yeah, it's a
ticket
big layout. Yep.
no, big layout to Hawaii. One of Michael's sons, I have two fabulous stepsons who are now at that adorable age where they're both attorneys. And they're so cute at this age. It's so nice. And they were in my life since they were adolescents. But one of them was working as a waiter in Hawaii before he became a lawyer. It's good training. And so we were flying first class to Maui. Had everything set up, Four Seasons Hotel. I mean, this was, again, splash.
Yep.
So we leave Connecticut to drive to Boston Airport. We're doing this. Michael is all like, we get the parking. He gets exactly the parking that he wants. It's not valet. We get to park because he likes to park himself. He doesn't want to hand the car over to the valet. Fine. We get there. It's like he's, all right, everything's perfect. And they said, oh, well, you missed your flight. We're right left like 4 hours earlier. So, what? People were so proud of ourselves. And again, Michael went like, what? I mean, just like, so all the blood leaving the top. And it was like, we had looked at it and we both looked at it, but it was really Michael's wheelhouse. It was like when we were supposed to arrive in LA and then take the flight to Maui. That's where he was at camp.
Wow.
Again, it was just because I'm not to be trusted with making these arrangements because that's the thing I will do.
So did you
That would be me.
you experience some Schadenfreude?
There was a little thing, but I wasn't the one.
I wasn't
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
I wasn't the one. I mean, and that's not how we're in it together. And then what I'm better at, because Michael really is a great player, but what I'm better at is then, okay, he goes off to like have his head explode. And I talk to the people. So what's the next flight we can be on? Can we get the upgrade, even though can we fly first class on the next one? And so I make the arrangements that then attempt to compensate because I can do that without spiraling into this. Like, oh my God, when you screwed up? It's like, okay, we'll make the next best thing happen.
I love how we can take different roles in times of massive stress. And one of us is good at communicating or being precise in one area, and another one can come in, be a little bit more level headed, because there comes a lot of shame with making mistakes, with doing things that are very costly, whether it's time costly, whether it's money cost, whatever it is. And I love that we can tag team.
Yes, the tag team is absolutely right. And also, the really grown-up part, and I would say it probably took us the first 10 years of our relationship to get this right, was the really grown-up part is not to bring it up again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the real, because it is like having like an extra 20 tucked into the back of your wallet if you need it. It's like, yeah, but I didn't get us late for the first pitch trip to Maui. I think it might be, Gina, I've been waiting. You said you were going to be in TJ Maxx looking at towels for 5 minutes. I've been in the parking lot for plenty. And then it's like, don't bring up Maui, don't bring up Maui. So those are the things that, again, it's not the patient dying on the table. Finally, there's nothing irrevocable. I think that that's what it comes down to. It's like, okay, we got in at 2:00 in the morning as opposed to 2:00 in the afternoon, so we didn't get the whole day, but we got there and it's so what I need to know what happened with the ticket. You did get the money back, right?
No.
Yeah. Let me do it. I'll
Yeah.
It was the next week. It's over and done.
Like, my time's worth money too, and I spent way too much time trying to get it back. And I at the end of the day, I did agree that it was non-refundable. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, life goes on. I'm over it. And I ended up getting another hotel that was not as nice, but
Maybe
that's
we'll walk in the other one when we're there.
that's fine.
And
And that's what happens in life. And, you win some, you lose some.
And that is, and again, the gesture behind it. It's like an O. Henry story. I mean, the gesture behind it.
that meant a lot.
Exactly. That's a loving and expansive and generous and just extravagant gesture.
You're right. That moment of just realizing the sacrifice that he was trying to make for me was an intimate moment, even though it came at a cost. Most of us get stuck on that rather than looking at all of the other things.
And I found, I'm no less happy right now, than I was before this all happened.
Well, that wraps it up for this part 1 of our awesome interview with Gina Barreca. We look forward to seeing everyone on Friday. In the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out to us at hello@marriageiq.com and look us up at marriageiq.com and subscribe to our weekly tips. Get entered into the contest for a free date night on us. And we look forward to seeing you on Friday for another exciting episode of Marriage IQ.